offspring. Okay. Neutral would mean it's a change in the DNA, but it really doesn't actually cause any problems. And then there's beneficial. Beneficial would be defined as something that happens within the DNA that makes the organism more fit to live within its environment. Okay, like for instance, humans, average height of a human maybe 10 centuries ago was 5'3" or something. Now it's men are some 5'10" or something. We're taller, we can do more, probably more athletic. So that is a beneficial mutation, a change. If the change is harmful, then it's unlikely that the offspring will survive to reproduce, so the mutation dies out and goes nowhere. If the change is beneficial, then it's likely that the offspring will do better than the other offspring, so will reproduce more. Though through reproduction the beneficial mutation spreads, the process of culling bad mutations and spreading good mutations is called natural selection. So that's the first step of how evolution, according to evolutionary theory, this is how it happens. Second step is called natural selection. Defined as organisms that have experienced beneficial mutations make that organism more fit to survive by reproduction. Therefore, this process continues with further beneficial mutations until a one-celled animal macroevolves into a Homo sapiens, humans. This process took about 3.5 billion years. During the process of macroevolution, the DNA of the transitional organism grew from one original base pair of DNA to approximately 3.5 billion base pairs in humans. Okay, so we as humans, almost each of ourselves, some exceptions, have a strand of DNA. That strand of DNA has base pairs of amino acids. Okay, and it's actually computer code. There's 3.5 billion of those in each of your DNA, each of your cells. And we have about 100 trillion cells in our body. And I probably have more. Okay. I measured it was like 150 trillion, I think, when I kid. Just kidding. All right. Now let's examine evolution from my point of view. Here are the points we'll talk about. These are well written about, well studied, etc. 1, beneficial mutations, which I mentioned. 2, how natural selection uses those beneficial mutations to improve the fitness of the organism. 3, homology. Homology means that similarities, now I'll give you a definition. I'll give you a quick one. Similarities in skeletal structure or other organ structure within living organisms. Like a dog has 4 legs. We have 2 arms and 2 legs. They're homologous. Okay? And the fossil record, where you would find transitional forms. These are forms meaning organisms that started here, changed very slightly over time, and became a new species. It's called transitional forms, and the only place if you find evidence of transitional forms is in the fossil record. And by the way, I guess almost everybody knows this, but fossils are not living tissue, they're rock. So you're not looking at an animal, That's why there's a dinosaur. That's a dinosaur. Well, it's not the bones of a dinosaur. It's rock that has replaced the bones over time during the petrification process. Just a little. That's not a negative thing to say about evolution. I'm just telling you what it is. Beneficial mutations. Prediction number 1. There's all kinds of predictions. I just choose a few of them. For beneficial mutation to drive the macroevolutionary process, there will be a vast evidence of frequent occurrences of beneficial mutations. Okay, now, make sure you understand, think about how many changes would be necessary for an endohyus to go to a whale. Okay? And it all had to be beneficial for the whale to survive in water. Okay. I say that prediction is false. The occurrence of beneficial mutations are extremely rare. The ratio of harmful mutations to beneficial mutations in the genetic code is 10,000 to 1. For every one beneficial mutation, 10,000 harmful ones. Basically, mutations are a deterioration of the genetic code. It's a mistake. Okay? We're going to talk about also some ideas where, in defensive evolution, where beneficial mutations have helped organisms. Prediction number 2, for beneficial mutations to drive the macroevolutionary process, these mutations will add vast amounts of code to the DNA. All right, we supposedly descended from a one-celled animal of some sort. Nobody knows what that one-celled animal is, but it'd be like a bacteria. Here you have E. coli bacteria, which has 4 million base pairs. That's quite a bit of base pairs for something you can't even hardly see with a microscope. Or you can, but very little. And human DNA is 3.5 billion base pairs. So there had to be, from a one-celled animal to a human being, huge amounts of mutations that added genetic code to the DNA. Y'all, anybody argue that? I mean, it has to be. False. There has never, I've said this so many times, been any scientific observation of a beneficial mutation that added information to the genetic code. Never has happened. Quotes. If it could be demonstrated that any complex organ existed which could not possibly have been formed by numerous successive slight modifications, my theory would absolutely break down. That's Charles Darwin and the Origin of Species. By the way, I don't know if you knew this or not, I've said this before, there's a copy of the original. It says, Origin of Species by means of natural selection or the preservation of favored races in the struggle for life. Does that sound a little racist to you a little bit? He believed that the white race was the real race and all the other ones were not even really human, that we were the favored race. Sound familiar? Some other people.